Johnny Gaz Sports. What's up, brother?
How you doing, my man? I appreciate you, Villain. Thank you for having me on. What a great Saturday morning. I don't know what it's looking like where you're at, but it is sunny. It is a beautiful day. It's a good day to talk Lions. Let's get into it.
It is a great day to talk Lions. And let me look out my little window right here. Yeah, we got a little more clouds on my end right here. We had some hail this morning that I heard. I thought it was going to break my window, and we ended up being all right. But getting into these Lions right here, we made some moves, and let's go through and do, because I want to know what you thought. And by the way, Johnny Gaz Sports on YouTube, and your presentation is great. I think that one of the reasons I invited you on here is, for one, they're sick of hearing just from me. All the people are like, man, you need to get some guests on there, dude. It's boring with you on there. So try to look for the right type of people. But I like your presentation, and you're very well thought out with your takes and everything like that. So let me get this presentation in here while I'm babbling right here.
No, I appreciate you, man. It makes it easy when the team made the turn right in 2020, 2021. And I've been a longtime Lions fan. I've loved them since the day I was born. I grew up in Southside, Michigan. That's where I went to high school, played football there. So it was in my family. It surrounded us. My dad had season tickets for the longest time back in the Silverdome era. So we spent time down there in the Barry Sanders days, and that's, like most people, that's you fall in love with the Lions, and it's continued, and it developed into something that I've created on YouTube now since the NFC Championship game, and we move forward with it, man. We have fun talking football.
Yeah, it is something else. Us Lions fans, we're not used to success, so it's like, I've had this podcast here since, it was called the Main Event Podcast, and switched it a bunch around. But starting this in 2020 wasn't the easiest thing in the world to do through the transition. But we did get to cover like all of the growing with the other fan bases making fun of us year after year, saying you never get to do anything. And now we're here at this interesting spot. Like, in where like free agents actually want to come here, like where people are actually giving us discounts to come and play here because they think they can win a Super Bowl. You like that? So let's start with your thoughts. This was probably the biggest signing that we had, most impactful signing. Give me your thoughts on DJ Reed, 3 years, $24 million.
Gosh, I like this a lot. And here's why I like it so much, because I'm not saying he's coming in leaps and bounds better than what they had in Carlton Davis. He's smaller. He's not as good in man coverage, but he can certainly play it. But what I like the most about this move is DJ Reed, the man, is the right character guy to bring into the locker room. If you look deep into his background and his story, he's had a tough upbringing. His mom had breast cancer. His dad had MS. There were some family struggles. He spent time in a youth detention center, and he got himself in a better situation. He went to JUCO college, got to Kansas State, went on, the story is there, but he's such a hardworking guy. He's now on his third contract, and you heard in his intro press conference when he was in Allen Park, he wants to win. He's honest. He wanted to make his money. He wanted to come to a locker room that he could be a part of, and he wants to win a Super Bowl. And I think that's the exact kind of guy they want. Plus, you just said it. They got him on a discounted deal. And I think that's part of what you just said, is guys want to come to the Lions to win. So that's, to me, it's an A+ signing.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you, because when I was doing my mock off season, the most important thing to me was just to make sure that you didn't go backwards at that cornerback position. You got your youth in there. You drafted Terrion and then Rakestraw in the second round. You got a Meek in there. You got a nice base of, quality cornerbacks. And when you lose Davis, it's like, you can't just be like, well, yeah, that's nothing. It's like, no, you need another quality corner. And they went out and they got the guy, to me, is like one of like 4 guys that you didn't go backwards in. I think this is a lateral move, but they did get a better deal than what New England got from Carlton Davis. So yeah, I do think that we win in this deal. This is like 1-0 Brad Holmes right
I agree.
there.
And people were saying on that too, like Brad Holmes doesn't make a splash move. Well, he was the best cornerback, I would argue, on the market, and he went and got him at a discounted deal, and people still don't like that. So I don't understand that line of thinking. This was the best signing they could have made in a lateral. And you're right, it is a lateral move. He's not leaps and bounds better than Carlton. So yeah, I like it.
I mean, you could argue that Carlton's better, or you could actually argue that he's better. I mean, there's different ways that you could do it, but no, I mean, I think where people get upset is they want a pass rusher. So every move that is not a pass rusher is, why isn't that a pass rusher?
Yes.
And then you just forget, like, wait a minute, this is a really good player that they sign here. 100%. And you say that Brad Holmes don't make splashes. Well, this was a day one signing on a day. So Brad Holmes going outside of his little character deal. And there he is. It's DJ Reed coming in. He's just a solid dude. See, if Broski says that he's a solid starting cornerback, he craps on every single one of our picks because he's a Bear fan. But if he says he's a solid starting cornerback, I gotta give it up. Broski's giving it love.
Broski's got it right. He's smaller. I mean, Carlton's a lengthier guy. He's a better man coverage guy. I mean, there's no doubt about. I would not sit here and tell you that the Lions' defensive backfield is better today because they have DJ Reed. I think their locker room's better, and I think their pocketbook is much better. So I think they'll take that and move forward.
I like that. I like that. So that probably just means that Brad Holmes is going to be looking for that taller corner maybe this year in this year's draft. Or I think that Rakestraw is taller. I think he's 6'1". I want to say that he's a taller corner.
Right.
Terrion is 6 foot. New signing right here. I don't know if we need to spend too much time on this, but I made a graphic real quick. This is really quality depth. Is this practice squad? Can this guy make the roster? What's going on here, John?
It's just, I have to imagine, and I don't know this, don't quote me this, but this seems like somebody has a relationship with this guy, because I didn't see them needing a tight end. So somebody within the coaching staff must know something, or somebody, or I mean, I got to look, if I'm looking at their depth here at tight end, I just want to see, I mean, obviously we know we have Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, you still had Shane Zylstra. So I don't know where he fits in to the picture. Is there a trade looming? I'm not saying that, but like, why do you add a tight end? And I like this guy. He's solid, but he would not be a guy that's going to compete or get over Laporta or Wright in the rotation. So we'll have to see.
Well, I think that you hit it right there. I mean, it's like Plinko. You remember that game?
Oh yeah, one of my favorite game shows.
So it's going to fall into the spot. Well, he's not going to get by Laporta. Not going to get by Wright. Oh well, maybe this guy can compete for the tight end 3. We will keep 3 tight ends most likely, and so maybe he's a playmaking guy that can play fullback too, or something like that. So I don't know a lot about him, but looks like he might be able to compete. We love competition, right, Brad?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And there you go. Maybe you can compete for the tight end 3 spot. Tim Patrick comes back, and this is something that I think that we all kind of knew was going to happen. We were just not a matter of if, but when. But nice, team friendly, 1 year, $4 million. What do you think about Tim Patrick coming back?
I like it. I think it solves the wide receiver room. It just kind of completes that. I think it takes that kind of wish list thing off the draft list. So to me, it fits. He had a good season last year. He's exactly what you need in the X wide receiver position. The big body guy is going to get your first down or score you a touchdown, if you need to go up and get a ball. And it was a team-friendly deal. Again, I think they allowed him to go test the market. I hate to say it, but I think he probably found out that it's just not there for him this year. And at the other end of it, he's like, you know what? I can go be a part of a winner, maybe have one more good season, and he'll have another opportunity to go get one more better contract. So I think this makes sense for everybody involved, and I like the signing.
There you go. Tim Patrick coming back on a 1 year, $4 million deal. Anybody Lion fan related, whether you're watching this right now or on the replay, let me know what you think about bringing back Tim Patrick. Let me know in the comments what you think. Well, Broski did correct me right here. He's 5. Rakestraw is 5'11", 192. Thank you for being right up on the Google for me. Sometimes it's hard for me to do that while I'm producing at the same time right there. So, yeah, Brad Holmes might be looking for a bigger corner in the draft this year. And quality. This is a guy right here, Roy Lopez. They bring him over from Arizona. The biggest thing that I remember from Roy Lopez is when we played them, he kind of clogged up our middle, at least for that one game. I'm like, who the hell is this Lopez dude? And he actually gave us a harder time in that first half of that Arizona game. If you go back and watch it, it was Lopez giving us a hard time in there. So maybe they saw something in that game and they're like, man, this guy started 16 games last year, and you get this guy on a 1 year, $4.65 million deal, which probably means that's laden with some incentives. So that's probably going to look like $2 million on the cap. I'll have to look at that. We'll do a cap breakdown of all these guys next week. So what do you think of Roy Lopez? I didn't know much about him up until the game last year, but Roy Lopez.
You hit it right on the head. I mean, that's what he's coming in here to do, is be the run stuffer to make sure the defensive line continues to be at least good on that end of it. I think there's always questions about the pressure and the sack rate and all that stuff, and that's what they're working towards. But this is the guy that you come in and solidify things in the middle. He's a true nose tackle. And again, we talked about maybe Aleem McNeil not being ready early on in the season. So you needed more defensive tackle depth to be able to prepare. And again, this is the Lions theme. This is where SOL is dead because of the culture. You bring in guys like this. And if you go and look at some of the quotes coming out of the Arizona camp about this guy, he was a plus human being. I just talked about it with DJ Reed. It's the same thing with this guy. They are culture fits, guys that they know are coming in to work hard and want to win. If you don't mind, here's a quote from his former coach, Jonathan Gannon. He says, if you had 90 Roys, you'd be ready to go. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we've got a lot of guys, but Roy, he keeps a good attitude. He's always working on his game. He's team first, willing to do whatever you tell him to do. He's got a smile on his face, a phenomenal human being, and he enjoys coming to work and get better at his game. You cannot get a better recommendation from a head coach than that. He's a Dan Campbell guy, and that's what the Lions want to be. So I know I'm going to sit here and blow smoke, right? Everyone, Lions fan loves everything they do. Well, they're doing it for a reason. This is why. Yeah, he's not making their defensive line leaps and bounds better, but the culture fit is still there, and they will continue to get the guys they need to build around him. So again, another great signing.
Yeah, I mean, Roy Lopez right here, you're talking about a big dude, and one thing that is in common with the guys that they have, Aleem McNeil is a pass rushing defensive tackle.
Yes.
Roy Lopez is a pass rushing defensive tackle. I mean, he graded out almost at 70 on his. He's a better pass rusher than Jonathan Allen from the Minnesota Vikings, which they just spent $20 million a year for 3 years. Now, I'm not saying old Jonathan Allen, not 2021 Jonathan Allen, which they think that they're getting. We're talking about right here and right now. Roy Lopez, like, the biggest surprise to me was I thought that he was like, number 8 defensive tackle on the Arizona Cardinals, and it was just scrapped. This was the starting defensive tackle for the Arizona Cardinals on a bad defense. But when I was reading through their texts and the way people were reacting of them letting Lopez go in Arizona, is like, what the hell are you doing? How are you going to let the Lions sign this guy? You couldn't carve off $4 million for Lopez, who's been our guy here. That's the attitude of Arizona Cardinal fan, both of them.
Come on, there's at least 4. Give them credit. You like that?
Oh gosh, yeah. So I loved this signing. Brad Holmes loves to make these signings. They did this last year too, where like Amik Robertson, when that first came down, everybody was like, who? I can't believe they're signing nobody. Da, 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 da. You wait a week And then all of the professionals chime in, the ones that played football before, was like, hey man, this guy Amik Robertson, yeah, he's real good. And then all of a sudden all the sports media guys go, well, I don't know, maybe Amik Robertson wasn't so bad.
Yep.
That's what I think Roy Lopez is going to be. Everyone was like, who?
Smart after the fact, right?
Yeah, and 2 weeks from now, after the defensive tackle guru that played 10 years, whoever is the pro out there, what's his name? Like Chris Long's going to go, man, this Roy Lopez, he's going to make an endorsement. And then all of a sudden, all the sports media guys are like, hey, this Roy Lopez, huh? Wow, that Brad Holmes, oh, he's such a good guy. Right now, everybody's like, what are you doing, Brad? Where's the pass rushers? Another guy like that.
That line of thinking is hard for me. And we talked about the Myles Garrett miss and people all up in arms. You didn't put enough in. You didn't sell the farm. You didn't go out and do what you had to do to get that one player. Well, I think organizations like the Cardinals and the Colts and those guys are searching for the one players, where the Lions are searching for the culture fit guys. This, again, Roy Lopez isn't a long-term solution or going to be your game wrecker defensive tackle. I don't think anyone has that expectation of him. He's the depth guy. He's going to give you what you need in the early part of the season for Lee McNeil's absence. And then past that, he's going to be the guy that pushes every player around him to get better.
I love that take. I really do, because when you look at these guys, are we underselling what they're going to do here? Now, and I'm going to bring this next guy up. Now, I don't even know what he got signed for, but I know that Grant Stewart came to the Lions because they allow opportunity to happen, right? I don't care where you were drafted. I don't care that, you ran a 4.2 40 or whatever. You come here, you're going to get a chance to compete. And you're going to get a chance. Okay. Oh, he's just a special teams dude. Are you sure? Are you sure? Because he got a chance to start last year and had 17 tackles in that game that he started. So Grant Stewart, is he just a special teams guy, or is he a guy that Brad Holmes identified as somebody that could come into this linebackers room and maybe surprise somebody? Maybe.
This is a great, you hit it. So it's the perfect way to look at him, because you're right. He really is probably a depth special teamer when all said and done. And that's probably where they would prefer him to be. Because if he's really your feature guy, you're probably in another injury situation. But his game against, I think it was the Dolphins, that was insane. I beg anybody to go watch him play in that game. He was an animal. Now, he doesn't have the sideline to sideline speed or the athleticism or the size to really compete like that in the long term. But again, it's about they recognized last year that the catastrophe of losing all those people, they have to have good depth. And no, we don't expect 19, 22 injuries, but at some point they're needing to prepare for that. And this is what this is.
Yeah, this is an underrated signing, guys. I'm telling you, like this is one of those guys. You can almost see it in his eyes, because sometimes a lot of these players, there's a lot of talent that are on these teams that are locked behind 3 dudes on a depth chart or maybe on the practice squad that is just waiting to burst out, waiting for an opportunity. You could have 4.2 speed in the best hands in the NFL ever, and the greatest talent ever, but if you're number 5 on the depth chart, you ain't even gonna get a target. Nobody's ever gonna know.
Yep.
So him coming here, you can see it in his eyes that he's just like, look, you don't think much of me right now, but they told me that I could compete, and I'm going to compete.
That's perfect. And that's exactly what the linebacker room is going to look like, because they signed so many linebackers back. Derek Barnes, everybody's returning, so they're going to have so much depth there and competition to even make the roster. And that breeds just a great linebacking room.
Yeah. And going straight through all this linebacker stuff right here. You bring back these are fully guaranteed deals right here. That's the only thing that I really want to talk about with these two, because we know Anthony Pittman, you're talking a linebacker that's been in the system. Trevor Nowaski, a linebacker that's just been in the system on and off the practice squad, came in. Both of them have played well in the spot places. So I understand these minimum deals for those two guys, but this linebacker room has just got some people in here. And
wow,
look at that room. Like, I had a minute, but I want to get to a point here, because I want to talk about something right here. So, but before we get into this next topic right here that we're going to get into, let me know in the comments right here what you think of the Lions free agency up until this point. Like, are you, I mean, let's just say a scale of 1 to 11, 11 being where you're at with this Lions free agency. I know that they didn't hit the perfect free agency for you. The one that you thought we were just going to get Miles. I was one of those people. I wanted it. I want Trey Henderson too. If they can make the roster better, do it. Like, for the love of God, please do it. One thing I did forget to do that, I will get better at this as we go along. But this episode of the Lion Villain Report is brought to you by Fanatics.com right there. You can scan that code right there, get up to 25% off of your order from Fanatics.com. Thank you for supporting the Lions page with that. It's not just Lions stuff. You scan the code, you can go get Bears stuff, Packers stuff, NHL stuff, WWE stuff, MLB, like whatever your sports fix is, you can get it there at our affiliate marketing partners at Fanatics.com. There we go. Pay the bills. There you go. With that. So, you let me know in the comments what you think of the Lions free agency so far. And now I'm going to set up something here. In 2024, the Lions kept 6 linebackers on the initial 53. And they just brought back like 4 linebackers. And the reason I say I forgot about Turner, Ezekiel Turner. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the ones that you think could get cut and go to the practice squad are on guaranteed deals. Even though they're small deals, they guaranteed Trevor Nowaski, guaranteed Turner, guaranteed. That is not something that you just do to throw somebody on a practice squad and you think that they're going to be there. So it looks like the Lions aren't going to keep 6. It looks like they're going to keep 8, 2 more there. And then going to the defensive tackle room. Now, they brought back Levi Onwuzurike to talk about what Broski Bear was talking about, saying Lopez isn't going to be your starter. They need more defensive tackle. You got to draft somebody. Well, they also brought back the best defensive tackle on the market at the time, which just so happens to be one of our guys, at Levi Onwuzurike, on a 1-year, $5 million deal. So the defensive tackle room has Aleem McNeil, who probably won't start. But you got DJ Reader, you got Levi Onwuzurike, you got Roy Lopez. Last year, they kept 4 interior defensive linemen on the initial 53. Maybe you could make a claim that Broderick Martin might just get cut and they would only keep 5. But still, more interior defensive linemen, more linebackers. Now, the question I want to ask is this signifying a possible schematic shift for Kelvin Sheppard's new defense? So I'm just going to make this case and I'm going to let you go with it a little bit here, Johnny. When you have a 3-4, you need a big nose tackle. You drafted Broderick Martin. You brought in a 320-pound plus Roy Lopez. You had DJ Reader. You got 3 nose tackles. Now, I didn't mention Mekhi Wingo. You know why? Yeah, I didn't mention Levi Onwuzurike. You know why? I didn't mention Josh Pascal. You know why? Because those guys are big ends in a 3-4 defense. So there you have depth on, you got 4 guys that can play your big ends, right? Now you need a pass rusher. You need jack linebackers. Where does Aiden Hutchinson fit in? How can you free Aiden Hutchinson? Well, you can make him a jack linebacker. You can send a meat machine of 3 pass rushing. Like, imagine that. You got DJ Reader, who rushes the passer. You got Lopez, who rushes the passer. You got Levi, who rushes the passer as a big end. Pascal, who rushes the passer as a big end. You drafted Mekhi Wingo because he rushes the passer as a defensive tackle. There's a rotation right there. 3 guys that you keep in there. And now you just take Hutchinson and you put him wherever they're not. Who's my bitch? So that to me excites me, right? Derek Barnes becomes a jack linebacker or a Sam linebacker that can also rush the passer. You can disguise pressures a lot like that. What is Kelvin Sheppard? He's a linebackers coach that just became a defensive coordinator. Where do you think that he could benefit more with his expertise? I need more linebackers. I don't know. This is a long shot. I'm just throwing this out there, but I just wanted to get ahead of it a little bit right there. Maybe it's a little bit off, but what do you think of that take, Johnny?
No, what I like about that is the versatility of the defense. And I think what I hear in that argument is they're able to use the talent they've brought in and mold their defense to the players that are available to them. And I know I mentioned it before, but I think a lot of this is reactionary to what happened last season. I think they want to secure their depth pieces. And you talked about the guaranteed contracts. Well, even if those guys end up in a practice squad situation, or I don't even know how that, if the contract works where they can even end up there on a guaranteed contract. But the point is, they want to keep their guys. It's very clear that the strategy is draft, develop, reward. And I know people don't want to hear it. They hate that because they want the big move. But the truth is, it's very clear they will do whatever they can to secure their guys. And they added depth pieces that they are comfortable with, that they know if they end up in the same situation, they can insert player A, player B here. Now, to go back to your argument, I think Kelvin Sheppard, you're exactly right, is coming in from a linebacker background. He coached that room, and I think he wanted as many pieces as possible to be able to play with. We saw guys like Malcolm Rodriguez, Alex Anzalone, key pieces go out last year, and they need guys that they can trust. He's not going to be able to necessarily oversee that room now as the coordinator. I think they promoted, I'm blanking on the name from within, to now take over that room. So there is comfortability there, but I just think he wanted to make sure that they had guys that are familiar with the scheme. They can step in and play no matter what. There's less thinking they have to do on the field, but then they're able to use them in different capacities, which would lend itself to your argument. So that if they need to play a 3-4, or a type of 3-4 up front, especially with Noah-Lee McNeil. We talked about that over and over again. So that may lend itself early on in the season, but I don't know if they're making a full sale change. I just think that the philosophy is said, 4-3 or 4-2-3 in most cases. And they like to play a lot of nickel. So a lot of times they have 5 defensive backs on the field as well. So in those cases, it's just, I don't know if they'll commit to a 3-4, but I do see them using a lot more variety in their defensive schemes.
And I agree with you on that. Honestly, when it comes with that, when I speak of this, I'm not talking about a hardwire. This is our new scheme, and this is we're not trying to fit square pegs into round holes here. Well, the base defense last year, if I'm looking at it, it was more of a nickel. Like the starting had, Amik in the slot, I thought, more than and using 2 linebackers. We didn't keep a lot of linebackers. So it's more like that 4-2-5 type of deal where you have more defensive backs on the field.
Sorry, you're right. 4-2-5. I think I said 4-2-3. You're exactly right.
But in the base, but the thing is they did play elements of 3-4 last year. It's like this isn't like a new thing. They're not going to be like, oh my God, we're completely switching schemes. These guys have played 3-4 before. But when you come into the base part of the defense, and yeah, they could just take those guaranteed salaries and just like whatever. I mean, their league minimums, it's probably $800,000 and $900,000 of guaranteed money. So that we're not talking about hugeness right here. But Trevor Nowaske played well in spots last year. You know, Pittman's a very good special teams type of guy. Ezekiel Turner had to start last year, and they had him more as a pass rusher. But if we're in a 3-4, him and his size set, I mean, he's not a jack linebacker trying to be an end rusher. He's a jack linebacker being a jack linebacker. Like,
yeah, I'm with you.
You know,
and I see Broski in the chat had mentioned the return of Hutchinson, and I think that might also be a factor to consider because he is coming back from major injury. It's hard for me to think they're going to now want to get in his head about scheme changes and introducing linebacker play. I do see them moving all throughout the defensive line, but I just think they're going to take it really easy and just allow him, look, man, rush the passer, be the pressure dog that you are. That's what we need from him. I mean, he has to be DPOY, and I think mentioning or trying to get him out of what has really been the bread and butter, that scares me a little bit in his current situation. Maybe he develops there, but I would be hesitant with that.
So Broski Bear always loves to jump the gun right here, and I gotta call him out here. Russ, you're falling for the same trap as you did last year. Lions need to address DN because I'm saying the Lions may switch defensive schemes. I'm saying, hey, Brad Holmes, stop getting defensive talent. Stop it. We need nothing. Don't draft a defensive end. Don't go and get any more pass rushers. That's what I'm saying when I'm saying they're switching schemes, Johnny. I got you. I like it. You know, it's like this offseason is it's a great big picture look at what's been going on with the Lions organization. Because I think everybody is in this mode, and like you and me and everybody in the chat, they've been longtime fans of their team, right? And you've been through the ups and downs, and you've seen the struggles. And Lions fans know better than anybody what the struggle is. And it's like now some people just don't know how to face the reality of the situation. Everybody wants what they want, what I would do, you know, but they don't look at what Brad Holmes would do. That is the reality. And when people, and so I love having these discussions. I love people that want them to go get that player. I want them, you said it, I want them to go get Trey Hendrickson. I would support it all day long. Let's go.
But look, man, they're not in the business of giving multi-year contracts to outside the organization players. They just don't do it. I mean, it's not what they're about. And so until people kind of get their heads wrapped around it and are okay with sustained success, you know, the other argument is, well, you're going to be here the whole time. You're not going to win the Super Bowl. Well, look, to get here, you got, you know, you go down below that mark. So it's like there's two sides to that argument. I just want people to look at the situation and the reality and say, what is the real move that Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Sheila Ford-Hamp, that whole crew is going to move forward with? And does that make the Lions a better team heading towards the Super Bowl?
And you can answer that question in the comments. Like, whether you're a troll fan or whatever team that you follow, I mean, are you impatient to what Brad Holmes is doing right now? I mean, and here's the thing: join the conversation. I mean, well, I'm not right. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what we should do. I mean, all we can do is have our dumb opinions right here, but I'm not going to be, oh my God, Brad Holmes should have listened to me. I'm not negative, I'm realistic. So since they've never won, they can never win. It's like, don't give me that. Like, you tell me that we need to follow the Philadelphia model. They just won a Super Bowl. That's an easy take for you. They just lost 6 starters on their defense because of the way that they attack free agency. Okay. Where's Philadelphia been in this free agency? They can't do anything. Yeah, but the thing is they took their chips. And this is the thing, like, is it the right way? Well, in some instances, you would believe that, you know, the Rams all in. Okay, we're gonna risk some future, and we're gonna get our Super Bowl. It worked for them. It's working for the Philadelphia Eagles, but those bubbles burst. And I know that it's too far away, but I don't know if you've seen the way that they pushed their cap. They pushed a lot of these players. They're going to have to pay dead cap for Hurts, Barkley. I mean, there's 6 players that they're going to have to pay for in the year 2028 and 2029, and they're not going to be on the team. So even if they wanted to, like, bring back Jalen Hurts in 2029, they're going to have to pay the $98 million in dead cap that they pushed all that salary ahead to. And then they're going to have to sign him for $50 million or $60 million on top of that. Yeah. So would you give up 3 years of competitive football to get your Super Bowl now? I think any Lions fan would probably, at this point, we've learned that answer to that question is undoubtedly yes. Like, yeah, I'll trade away 2029 right now. Get rid of it. We are not competing in 2029. Bring Trey Hendrickson here right now. Put him on the team. 17 and a half sacks on one side, 17 sacks on the other side. Let's go get the Lombardi. But it doesn't guarantee it.
Yeah. Here's, and I'll go against my own point, right? And I think, one, the Lions have to save money for these contracts that are coming up. You're going to have to pay Aiden Hutchinson $40+ million based on the Garrett contract. I don't think Hutch is going to take less. I hate to say it. He's not going to take less. So that's huge money. Kirby Joseph is huge money. So they knew looking forward what they have to hold on to cap for. I know people don't want to hear that as well, but here's the other side of it. And Broski mentions it again. The Eagles have been to the Super Bowl multiple times over the last 5 years. So the argument is, if we trust Brad Holmes as much as we do, he should be able to pull the trigger, then reset, right? Because that's what Howie Roseman's been able to do several times.
Right.
But again, you mentioned it. They're in a different cap situation now. Players are having to leave the organization because they just can't afford them. But they won a Super Bowl. So there's 2 schools of thought. I would rather, in my Lions fandom, my time here, I'm enjoying the time we have. I think they're on the right trajectory. I think this is working, and people just need to be 1 more year patient.
Yeah, but the thing is like, how many teams that win the division, win the 1 seed, win the Super Bowl? Like, we learned that last year. So, and Broski, before you I'm not criticizing the Eagles. I'm asking a question. And actually, I answered my own question with yes. Would I give up years of contendingship to win a Super Bowl right now? My answer is yes. Johnny's answer is yes. So don't go into the comments and tell me that I'm doing something that I'm not doing here. I'm asking a question. There's 2 lines of thinking here. Everybody says, "Oh, Tom Brady's just the greatest of all time, and that's why they won all those championships." No, that is an example of Brad Holmes' style of drafting and taking care of your team. And honestly, there's more examples of that than your style.
A lot of people forget Tom Brady restructured his contract in a lot of cases to be able to make that work so they could sign other players and pieces to win Super Bowls. So there is some to go on the other side of this, that may be down the road for the Lions, right? A guy like Jared Goff may restructure a contract in 2 years to reshuffle the deck, right? So there's ways to make this work in both arguments, honestly.
Well, there's examples on both sides of it working. The most recent example is the Howie Roseman way, that won the championship. Now, the thing is whether you believe it or not, the Kansas City Chiefs model is a lot more like the Brad Holmes model because they paid their quarterback a long time ago. And now guess what? You think that the Lions are going to be in cap trouble next year? You're not paying attention. Because did you know that the Kansas City Chiefs were in a lot of cap trouble going into this year? Oh my God, what am I going to do? Oh, I'm $20 million over the cap. What are they going to do? Patrick Mahomes goes, restructure it. No worries. I'm on Ra. Next year, that's what's going to happen. You think they're going to pay $70 million against the cap for Jared Goff and $35 million for Amon-Ra, $30 million for Sewell? Like, they could free up $100 million worth of cap by snapping their fingers in 2026. So miss me with the Lions are in trouble with cap. What are they going? They're making their moves right now so they can sign Kirby Joseph, so they can sign Aiden Hutchinson, so they can sign Brian Branch, so they can sign Sam Laporta, so they can keep this core together. That's more important than really anything else. And then when we go into the draft, go into the first round, grab yourself the guy on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson. And I do believe that's what they're going to do. As a matter of fact, I think since they didn't go and get Aiden Hutchinson, a trade dude that's proven, I think they're going to trade up into the first round and get their guy. You want to know how they're going to answer that, broski? That's how they're going to do it. You heard it here first. No, you probably heard it here like third or fourth, but still, I said it.
Hey, Dylan, were you a proponent of going to get Myles Garrett? Would you? So you would have been okay, like with how much selling the farm would you have been okay with?
All of it.
Wow.
Every single piece. Like, you wanted 3 first-round picks, it didn't matter to me. Lions, if the Lions would have went and gotten Myles Garrett, it's like anybody that has a dominant pass rusher on one side, you bring in Myles Garrett on that side. If you can make that happen, the draft capital doesn't mean nothing at that point. Myles Garrett's the best defensive player in the league.
True.
Like,
I think that would have been the most incredible pairing maybe in the history of football. I don't know. I don't even know what that would look like, and I would have loved it. That one was too much for my blood. I think, I couldn't have sold 3 first-round picks for it, unfortunately. But I think, if let's say Trey Hendrickson is out there and there's not, since he can calm themselves down a little bit about what maybe is fair market value, then I'm all about it. But I don't know if I would have gone that far. But I don't know. It's tough, right? And it's a great argument. I love having the conversation because I'm just so forward with what they're doing right now that I'm supporting it.
So it's like, I don't know if I don't know where the tipping point would be, but Myles Garrett is that type of, and there's probably maybe 5 or 6 players in the entire league that are at this level. But there are some players that you pay whatever you need to pay to get them and then ask questions later. And that's how good they are. I think Christian McCaffrey was that good. He made that big of an impact on that thing. Like, Nick Bosa with 3 years ago would have been that type of guy. Myles Garrett is that guy. He takes an average defense and makes it dominant. He takes a dominant defense and puts it over the edge. Yeah. So, but we'll never know. We'll never know because I want to play for a contender. Well, the lie detector detected that was a lie.
I guess there is a price.
Everybody has a price. Yeah. So, God, this was a great conversation to have. I love the schematic change conversation. It's something to think about going into this draft. What are your biggest needs for the Detroit Lions? I want to know that in the comments. I do. I want to know that in this episode, brought to you by Fanatics.com right there. You can scan that code and get up to 25% off of your order from our affiliate marketing partners at Fanatics.com. Yeah, let's get back into my characters right here. Where was I? Yeah.
What do you got, Bill? What is the 3 biggest needs right now? You still think, like, for me, it's still all defensive line, but do you feel differently now with the Zeitler departure?
With the offensive line, you got your starters set. I think that the plan right now is you're going to keep you want to move Glasgow back over to the right side because he was better there, frankly, the year before. And then you take your stud number, the 6th draft, 6th round, Mahogany. Yeah. There's your start. I mean, your starting lineup is set. You still got, Manu. You're developing Sorsdahl. You got Dan Skipper. So you even have a little bit of depth with that. I don't know how much you believe in Giovanni Manu, because that was this is one of the things. It cracks me up that somebody would call him a bust already when Brad Holmes comes out and tells you at the beginning is like, look, we're probably going to redshirt this guy. The physical things was too much to turn down at that point, but we're going to develop him for a whole first year. And then at the end of the year, was like, I can't believe he didn't play. Well, he must be a bust. It's like, he told you, but
that's too.
Do you believe do you think it'll be worth it at the end of the day?
Yes, I do. Look, he was playing Canadian football for goodness sakes the year before he was drafted. So the transition isn't there. There's just time, and they like him, and he's a monster. And truthfully, like, you have the best tackle in football on one side, and then you have an aging tackle in Taylor Decker. And I think the plan is they re-signed Decker to a multi-year. He's got, I think, 2 years left on the deal. So Manu's got more time, and he's going to then insert himself in that position, or he's kind of your swing tackle if the Dan Skipper thing doesn't work out and you need another additional sixth offensive lineman. He's that guy. So I just really think it's still too early to say bust at all for this guy.
So there have been some rumblings. I've read a couple of rumor sites thing that said that they are cross-training him at guard. Any chance that he competes for one of those guard positions and actually gets on the field as a starter in 2025?
That's good. I did catch that as well. That's interesting with his size to think, but they must love his athleticism to get over to guard. They're in that position. So if Graham Glasgow, like you mentioned, I like the move back to right guard. I think that's the right call. But if it was really a dip in his play, that's even more than just a position move, then maybe this is the guy that you got to play with. You got two young kids there at guard with Mahogany and Manu, if that was the case. Again, they like their options, and the depth there is good. And I agree with you that offensive line is not necessarily a priority up front in the draft, maybe later on if they like more depth.
And I have this vision in my mind of how it looks when the Lions do what they need to do right here. So it's like you got a position group, and right now they're filling a whole bunch of depth spots to where, hey, if we started the year right now, we would be okay, right? They're trying to put it there first, and when you bring an offensive line in, you don't necessarily just want this guy to come in and be part right there. You want to bring him in, and then maybe bring in one right here, boom, and then the last one falls off. Like you want to improve the depth in there, but you want to bring in a guy that is better than Manu or better than these guys. You want them to jump the depth chart. You want to bring in a guy that's good enough to jump the depth chart and take the final guy, the one that's hanging on by a thread, and then he's gone because he just gets squeezed off because there's more talent in that room.
I agree. And I think that's why they like the Mahogany move so much, because when he was inserted, and especially I would say the Bears game was the one that stood out to me when they were on the road. They didn't lose a beat in that game. I mean, they rushed the ball well. They protected Jared Goff. And if you didn't know he was in the starting lineup, you wouldn't have known it. And that's kind of what you want, right? Is like you have the solid wall. It doesn't matter, insert player A, player B, but it's spearheaded by Penei Sewell, and then obviously the head of the table, Frank Ragnow. People forget what he does for that offensive line. He's so undersold for what he does to control the whole pieces up there. But again, going back to the point here, I think they're happy with those young kids. I think Manu, give him another year, and I think it's everything you're going to want to have in either the position. I would love to see him replace Decker, but if they like him up front at guard and he fits, I'm okay with that too.
I'll take it. I'll take whatever they got to do. And will the wait be worth it? Let me know in the comments. I mean, I have ran this. I try to keep you guys and help you guys out with some of these takes that are out there. Maybe you felt a certain way about Manu, but what I would do if I were you and you're feeling any kind of way is stop it. Stop feeling any kind of way. Don't feel good. Don't feel bad. Like, let these guys, when they say you let Brad Holmes cook, that's part of it. Is you got this little smorgasbord. See, you're throwing all these people in it, and you're cooking up the meal, and you don't know if that ingredient's going to be good yet. But so far, you've seen track records of things that have worked, right? You just re-signed 4 guys to big extensions from your first draft class. If that doesn't show you that Brad Holmes is cooking, I mean, you paid $28 million a year to Amon-Ra St. Brown, a 4th-round pick. You brought back Derek Barnes. These are your guys that you drafted that you believe in. Penei Sewell, Levi Onwuzurike. Like, that is a sign that your GM is doing the things that he needs to do. Now, we need a pass rush. I mean, really, I shouldn't even ask the question anymore. What do we need? What's the biggest need? We need a pass rush. We need to go get a guy that's in the pass rush. You've filled all of the other needs in there. I mean, you could argue, go get an offensive lineman that is borderline starter quality depth that can maybe, a cheap, less than $10 million type of guy that's going to be out there that fills that room a little bit more. And then go into the draft. Do your thing, bro.
I think you're hitting a ton of good points, and I'll end my part on this. I'll say this, and you started to go there. Right now, we should just enjoy what we're experiencing, and the reason why is because even these arguments and these discussions about the right player, scheme changes, making the big move, going to get it. These are things that winning teams discuss and winning fan groups discuss, and this is the best time in my history as a Lions fan. Not just because I get to do things like with this villain, but because we get to watch a team that's competitive, is on the right trajectory, has the right pieces in place. You may not like a certain move here and there, but again, this is the best of times. And there's great quotes all over the place about not being in the moment or, remembering that you're in the best of times. Well, this is it, Lions fans. So don't take this for granted. Just like everything else in life, sometimes people lean on football more than most would. They take emotional and mental health things out of the game of football. So the Lions provide that for a lot of people. So don't let your discussions get to the point where it takes away from what this is. And what's most important is the relationships we have with each other and with the Lions. So God bless football, God bless the Lions, and God bless you, Villain, for having me on the show today.
That's awesome. Yes, for absolute sure. Don't take yourself too seriously. That's a great thing. And that's probably going to conclude my time too. I love the discussion. It seems like a perfect time to exit out here. We might as well do it right here. But this is the Lion Villain Report. You can join me. I mean, it's going to be as needed here in the off season. And, really, I've been trying to go Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but sometimes it works out to where I'm coming in on Saturdays. Usually the day after something happens that is worth talking about, I'm going to be on here talking about it for sure. And then we'll get back into 5 days a week when we get into the training camp and get back into the regular season again, getting into all that stuff. But thank you to everybody that's out there that is subscribing, following, liking this content, that is at Lions Villain Squad on YouTube, at Lions Villain Squad on Facebook, Detroit Lions News Podcast. That's Joe Chapp. Thank you for letting us go into there. Thank you to the Huddle Sports Network, and that's Bill the Packer fan, that's Mike the Bear fan. Thank you for allowing us onto your network right there. And if Christopher Walken was here, he'd say that the Villain Report, it's a good show. You should watch it. It's 10 a.m. It's good. It could be good for you. It could be good for you.
Now.
Could be good for your life. Oh, gosh. Thank you, everybody. Faith, family, and then football in that order. We got to keep it. We got to keep it like that. That way we can keep our friends, keep our enemies closer. No, faith, family, then football. We use football, spend time with our family, create memories. We don't let football use us. And thank you, everybody, for watching the show today. My name is Russell Wayne, and this is Johnny Gaz. Johnny Gaz from the Johnny Gaz Sports Network. And I think that we're going to turn this into a regular thing. And I'll leave you with this. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you guys. Everybody, thank you. We'll see you guys on Monday doing this thing. My name is Russell Wayne. This is the Lion Villain Report. Peace out.